of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
In the beginning of creation, there was no you, but today we are Rotary. We are creating inspiration. It's not brand new, we are the people of action. It's never too late to join our hands and make the world a better place for you and me. Reaching out for one another is what the Creator sent us to do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So let us stand, give a hand, helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another. So let us stand, give a hand, helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another.
So let us stand, give a hand, helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another.
Welcome. Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. This is the Rotary Club of Toronto, and I'm Prince Kumar, your 110th, wow, 110 years, that's amazing, 10th president, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our club's Rotary meeting for today. In this special meeting, we will be introducing some new elements and concepts, starting from our first 15 minutes of a members exclusive segment. Of course, because this is a special meeting, we're letting in our guests for this segment today. The segments may include interesting stories, learnings, and a message from the Office of the President-elect, the Vice President, or the Office of the Foundation President. We will do the recognition of the traditional lands and invocation and a special O Canada following our member exclusive segment. So, our first story, and our first, really, I will call it a heartwarming story and an empowering story, takes us back to 1943. And this is something very, very interesting. You know, what we did in 1943, this particular club had sent out several thousand pounds to Liverpool, England, when Liverpool was in need at that particular time. And I'll read out an article from our archives that we found in 1943. You'll probably have heard of the Rotary effort being made conjointly between the Toronto and the Liverpool clubs. This was originated by the Canadian Trade Commissioner here, Mr. Arthur Bryan, following on the heavy blitz of Liverpool early last year. The value of the goods sent by Toronto and distributed by Liverpool runs into several thousands of pounds, and I know that almost every case helped was a bullseye in the matter of need. Well, guess what? Last week, after 70 years, one of the recipients of the clothing drive at that time, and by the way, if you look at the current value of what we supported at that time, it would be in hundreds of thousands of dollars, as 1,000 pounds in 1943 would get converted to about 80,000 Canadian dollars today. So we got this wonderful call from Liverpool about the blanket story and about someone who was able to find this blanket and is going to tell us about their blanket story 70 plus years later. And that is the particular blanket, the Rotary Club of Toronto, and that's John Bogin. So with that, John, I'm going to pass it on to you. Welcome, and thank you for sharing this story with us.
Right, well, thank you very much for that, and also giving away the punchlines of everything I was going to say. Anyway, so as Prince Kumar has said, my name is John Bogin, and I'm here to thank the Rotary Club of Toronto for that present. Before I tell you more about that, I'd like to tell you a brief family history. My parents were born in Liverpool in 1913, and my dad joined the army in 1932, mainly to get away from the Depression. He ended up serving in India until 1939, and then he returned to Britain in May 1939 to go on the reserve list. He wasn't on it for long because in August 39 he was back in the army and sent to Belgium. He was wounded there before being shipped out at Dunkirk. My parents, Richard and Beatrice, married in 1943. Dad went back into Normandy on D-Day and was wounded again soon afterwards. He recovered and went back into Germany and served in Hanover until he finally left the army in 1946. On the 22nd of January 1948, I came into the world. Liverpool had been heavily bombed and houses and most other things were in short supply. I remember being taken down to the local clinic to get spoonfuls of cod liver oil and orange juice to supplement my diet. At this point, one of my prized possessions was a blanket. It was blue and white and had the owl and the pussycat on it. As I was an only child, possessions that might have passed on to siblings were kept just in case somebody else followed me, but nobody else did. So the blanket was put in a corner and put in a box, and that was it. In due course, my parents died, and I had to sort out everything they'd left. I opened one box, and there was the blanket. So I looked at it fondly, and put it away, and stacked it in the cupboard again. So recently, I was going through my gear, looked into it. There's the box, there's the blanket. I took it out, saw it was still in very good condition. And then I noticed the little tag which said, the Rotary Club of Toronto, Canada. I wrote a little note to the Rotary Club expecting a friendly acknowledgement. Thanks very much. Very nice for you to be in touch. Goodbye. Instead, here I am speaking to an international audience about it. Okay. I've been informed that the blanket came over in 1943. So where was it between 43 and when I got it in 1948? Well, one supposition is that it might have gone to other families in Liverpool. So maybe it saw one or two other children in it before it came to me. Whatever the answer to that, I feel an affinity to the Canadian child who first had it. And I hope that they weren't too upset when their parents took the blanket away from them and sent it over to keep me warm. Thank you very much. Back to you, President Prince.
Thank you, John. I must say that was a heartwarming story. Thank you for your initiative, for reaching out to us. And you know, you've really reminded us that the seeds that we sow for a good cause can continue to bear fruits long after we're gone. So thank you for doing that, and thank you actually for inspiring us with this particular story. Next
well,
up,
thank you for letting me in. Thank you.
All right. Next up, in our members exclusive segment, from next week onwards, we were going to have one of the members do it today, but they are traveling and having some technical difficulties. But we're also starting another new concept, another new element, and we call it How We Hobby, learning and sharing. And we'll get this going with quite a few members who are already lined up. And members, if you're interested in sharing tips, skills, hobbies in this particular segment, contact Mitra Godarzi, or some of you, I believe, may have already been hearing from her, because I know there's a lineup of folks wanting to share this. Our final section of the members exclusive segment is a message from the executives. Today, we have the office of the president-elect, Jayson Phelps. Over to you, Jayson.
Thank you, President Prince, and thrilled to be here today and to be starting a new year under your leadership. I have the privilege today to introduce our new leadership team, and so I'm going to do a share screen, and briefly walk everybody through our leadership. So our leadership team for 2021 and 2022. We'll start off with our new directors that we're excited to welcome to the board. Laurie Brazier, Pauline Lyons, Dr. Reverend John Joseph Mastrandria, Benoit Laku, and of course, one of our members steps up to a new role as Vice President, Anishinabek Hamel. Next, we have our existing board members that are continuing their term on the board. Rick Goldsmith as our Foundation President, Dawn Marie King, Kurt Crozen as our Treasurer, Blair Spinney, Prince Kumar, of course, as current President, James Statham, Andrea Tyrone, Carol Hutchison is our Corporate Secretary, as we're all aware, and of course, I will be part of that board as well. Our executive committee for this year is a great group that's come together, some existing faces and some new faces on the executive committee. I do have the privilege of chairing the executive committee this year. Prince Kumar, of course, as president, Annie Sandra as vice president. Laurie Brazier will be joining our executive committee this year. Rick Goldsmith is our foundation president, of course. Kurt Crozen as treasurer and executive committee member. And Andrea Tyrone will also be a new member of our executive committee this year that we're very excited about. And of course, Carol keeps us all in control as our corporate secretary. So we've got, as everyone is aware this year, a whole new lineup of some great committees. We have co-chairs on many of the committees. A few of the committees have just chairs. So briefly, I'll walk through. Our first committee up is Marketing and Communications. And we have two great co-chairs. You can see one very lively image on the side of our own past president, Jeffrey Johnson, and Pauline Lyons will be co-chairing. Next, we have the Member Engagement Committee. We have our co-chairs there of Donna Jones-Simmons and Bill Murari, and our liaison director for that committee is Dawn Murray. Next, we have our Past Presidents Council, chaired by our own past president, John Andrus. Following that, we have Charitable Asks, co-chairs again with Harry Figoff and David Libby, and their liaison director is Benoit. We move on to Community Outreach with Suzanne Bogilt and Daniel Massicott. Blair Spinney, Blair, is our liaison director for that committee. We move on to International Service with our chair, Dr. Reverend John Joseph Mastrandria, or JJ for short, and liaison director of Kurt Crozen. We move on to Events with our co-chairs again, Don Bell, Steve Smith, and their liaison director, our own vice president, Annie Sandra. Moving on to Program, we again have another committee with co-chairs and a big committee. Co-chairs on the speakers side will be Neil Phillips, and co-chair on the logistics side is a newer member, Melanie Dixon. I will be the liaison for that committee this year. We then move on to the Matching Grants team, co-chairs of Kim Hunter and Andrea Tyrone. And then a few additional liaison director roles. We have Andrea Tyrone, that will be the liaison director for the district. We have James Statham, will be the liaison director for our own U of T Rotaract Club. And Pauline Lyons will be the liaison director for the Toronto Rotaract Club. We then finish with two committees that we all take very seriously. Our first committee that keeps us all in line, of course, will be chaired by Tim Lang, our governance committee. And we finally wrap up with the committee that we all want to keep on our good side, Harry Figoff, who's chairing our audit committee. President Prince, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you, Jay. Welcome to and congratulations to all the committee chairs, the board members of both the club and the foundation. Really looking forward to serving with you this year. So it is now after 12:15 and the official part of our meeting has started. Past President John, you did not tell me how heavy this bell was. It is a beautiful bell. I believe decades and decades old. So I do have to keep it very, very gently. I would like to welcome also our new Rotaract Toronto president, Laura Valls, and Rotaract UFT, University of Toronto co-presidents, Christina Tang and Suryoshi Manoj. I will now continue with the recognition of the traditional lands, the invocation, and a special O Canada and a Rotary toast. Folks, have a glass ready for the toast. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional lands of many Indigenous peoples who have walked and cared for this land for 15,000 years. They include the Anishinabek, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat, and the treaty peoples of the Mississauga of the Credit. As we unite today in Rotary Fellowship and celebrate our new roles in service, be it the new president, the board, the chairs, the committees, or the new roles in a transition structure, let us be grateful for another successful year of giving service. As we go forward, help us to remember that unity makes us stronger and many hands working together makes the load lighter. May our gifts and talents be put to beneficial use in our community to serve others as we have been served. As we give thanks to our wonderful Rotary Club, let us also be grateful for this fellowship today. Thank you. And I should say this international fellowship today. So thank you. And now for our national anthem. With special permission from the Anishinabek Police Services, we will be sharing their beautiful rendition of O Canada, released on July 1st, acknowledging the Indigenous history with a glimpse into the beauty of the territory and its peoples. If you would like, please stand for our national anthem, followed by a toast.
Mekese mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, nemwag mekwen manarek.
Oh Canada, terre de nos aïeux, ton front essaie de fleurs glorieux. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, Geche Wanaj, Nani Bweda, Midwiche Wendonda, Nani Bweda, Midwiche
Mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, mekese mekwanak, nemwag mekwen manarek, Anishinabek hasewin hey om.
Rotarians and guests, thank you for joining us today. A toast to Rotary, to you, and our fellowship. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce our head table. And today, for our head table, We'll also be recognizing the people that tirelessly work to put programs like this together. So I'd like to thank them personally as well. Jeffrey Johnson, Rotarian since 1993, classification, specialty catering, president of All-Wheel Event Design and Catering, club past president, co-chair of our marketing and communications committee. All our social media, our brand, our look at marketing and communications is with Jeffrey Johnson and Pauline Lyons. Thank you, Jeffrey. Melanie Dixon, Rotarian since 2019, classification, digital marketing, vice president of digital marketing and consumer engagement with the Home Trust Company, co-chair of our programming. Melanie has tirelessly been working towards redesigning what our logistics of the program is. Thank you, Melanie. Maureen Bird, Rotarian since 1996, former classification financial advisor, retired, although not from Rotary, chief editor of the Voice Bulletin and treasurer of our International Service Committee, and Rotarian extraordinaire. Every week, without fail, for years, she continues to do the voice, editing, and puts everything together for this program. Thank you so much. Serge Saru, one of our newest Rotarians, Rotarian since 2021, classification, health benefits, finance and business process manager with Monroe Chappelle, our club's technology team lead, and also responsible to making sure you guys stay muted. Andrew St. John, Rotarians since 2021. In fact, his second meeting as a Rotarian today, and he's already taken the helm. Classification, investment advisor with RBC Dominion Securities, member of our club's technology team, and our videographer for today. Paula Shepard, Rotarian since 2021. Classification, project manager with Rosby Group, member of our club's tech team. Paula is currently in Barbados and just a few days ago had to deal with some hurricanes, yet she's helping out with the technology and ensuring our projects are continuing on. Thank you, Paula. Of course, Errol Hutchinson, Rotarian since 2010, classification service club management, executive director of the Rotary Club of Toronto. Carol, I say this for all our club Rotarians, we do not know this without you. Thank you so much. Our guests today, John Bogin, a special guest from Britain that you've already heard from. Others you'll hear shortly from. Margaret Chaston, Director of Operations, Sinfonia Toronto. Aisha Sykes, President of the Rotary Club of Darslam, Oyster Bay, Tanzania, along with members from the Rotary Club of Darslam, Oyster Bay, Tanzania. Thank you today for joining us. Rotarian guests. So, I do see we have quite a few visiting Rotarians and guests today. So I'm not going to go through all the names, but I do want to thank, I see quite a few presidents of various different clubs. Our district governor is here. Our assistant governor is also here. Thank you for joining us. And of course, I've talked about our Rotarians from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania are here. And of course, I have to mention my family. Arshi, Ankur, Nisayudi, Pradeep, they're coming in from New York, from Germany, and from New Delhi. So thank you guys for joining in. And I also see some of my coworkers and colleagues. So thank you guys for joining in as well. To our visiting Rotarians, thank you for choosing our club for your makeup. We hope that you enjoy the meeting. To all our guests, welcome to our virtual meeting today. Please feel free to contact the office and find out how you may be able to make a difference by joining us. Rotarians, please welcome our visitors in the tradition of our great club. Announcements. So we do have a few announcements today. You've heard this before, yet I do want to make sure everyone understands, and I'll repeat it again. You may already know this. You should be aware that at these virtual Rotary meetings, that if you have your video camera on, that you may show up on the recordings or live streaming. We ask that when you have your camera on, that you present a professional image, have your lunch earlier, please. Of course, this doesn't apply to our international, it might be dinner. at this particular time, and be aware of what is going on in the background when your camera is on. If you do not want to appear, please turn off your video. We will not be able to edit you out later. Our next announcement. Our summer meetings in July will be every other week, and that will continue on till about mid-August. For the weeks that we don't have a Friday meeting, so that everyone gets some time to get on, and with long weekends, I know we're trying to come out of COVID, which is awesome, and I think people will enjoy that. We will have President's Cocktails on Wednesday evenings at 5:30, and that will continue on till third week of August, similar to what we did last year. Now, a Linktree announcement. So you would have seen one of the slides in our intro page. Our tech team has put together Linktree as one of the links, one of the ways you can invite guests to any and all of our meetings. It's easy to join meetings. It's easy to invite guests, to ask potential members to start a conversation. Our member engagement team is always there to help them out with that. You can, using that link, you can also watch previous meetings and explore our social media. So members, there's a new kid on the block, so just make sure that you remember the link. You will be emailed the link as well. I believe you already have, and it's Linktree/Rotary Toronto is that link. Next up, we have a very special announcement, and I'd like to pass things over to past President John Fortney. He has some exciting news to share. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Prince, and congratulations on your throne speech. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful, and your meeting so far has been really quite exciting, and your technical wizardry is just astounding. I'm loving it. Last week on June the 30th, the district had its year-end wrap-up and party, and you know, it was a difficult year for everybody, with many of us not having any virtual meetings. There were some virtual meetings outside of Toronto, and there were some awards, and our club did very, very well. We walked away with 5, and our Rotaractors walked away with 2. So our district wrap-up and awards, here we go. Outgoing District Mark Chipman led a fun visual-filled final meeting with Rotarians from across the district. Our first award was the Norm Simpson Award for International Service. Now, these awards are quite often given to 3 different clubs of varying sizes. So the Norm Simpson Award to the Rotary Club of Toronto, Whitby Sunrise, and the Toronto Danforth. This trophy is awarded annually to the club in the district that made the most outstanding contribution to international service of Rotary during the preceding year. As you know, our International Service Committee was incredibly busy last year. The Rotary Foundation Trophy Certificate to the Rotary Club of Toronto. This is awarded to the 3 clubs that have the highest per capita contribution to the Rotary Foundation programs for the previous Rotary year, ending June 30th. Ours was for clubs with more than 50 members. Number 3, the Devon and Linda Biddle Annual Fund Certificate to the Rotary Club of Toronto and Rotary Clubs of Scarborough, Passport, Camelford. And this award is given to the 3 clubs that have the highest per capita contribution to the Rotary Foundation Annual Fund for the previous year, ending June 30th. I think that's for polio, I think. And then the Bill and Delphine Patchett Polio Plus. This is a Polio Plus certificate to the Rotary Club of Toronto. This is awarded to the 3 clubs that have the highest per capita contribution to the Rotary Club Polio Plus program for the previous Rotary year, ending June 30th. We won for clubs more than 50 members. Number 5, this one's very special to us. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award to the club or clubs, Rotarians who made the greatest contribution to advancement of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Rotary Club of Toronto, we won it for our amazing 3-part anti-racism series that we had last winter. And thank goes out to Sylvia and Jeffrey and their teams for putting on an amazing, amazing program. And the 2 Rotaract Awards. Number 1, the Enthusiastic Rotaract Award. This is awarded to Rotaractors who always showed enthusiasm when at Rotary, Rotaract, or affiliated events. They bring energy and keep us entertained. Dana Nelson from the Rotaract Club of Toronto won that. And the District Outstanding Club Award is for the large, medium, and small clubs, which best reflect the themes of Rotaract and the district. Toronto Rotaract Club won that. Mark also thanked Maureen Bird and myself for the district effort of $26,200 for the volcano disaster relief in St. Vincent. Our Rotary Heroes were also mentioned: Prince Kumar, Don Marie King, Donna Jones Simmons, and Maureen Bird. All I can say is I was very proud to represent our club last year and at this event, and I'm just happy and thank everyone who's involved in making these awards possible. And I now pass things back over to President Prince. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That is wonderful, and congratulations to John and all our club members. We've done so well during the times of COVID. You know, a lot of clubs were certainly struggling to figure out how to go around their operations. And I have to give special thanks to every single member here. I think we were more engaged, and we really got out there and did a lot of stuff to help the community. And it clearly shows with these awards. Thank you, John. We should be very proud as a club. Up next, we have another new element to our meetings. Every Friday, or when we have Friday meetings, we're going to be doing a new element called impact reporting. Our club gives out hundreds and supports hundreds of projects over the course of the year. And one of the interesting things is for us to know how that project or how those projects have actually, what the results are and what the impact is of some of those projects. So up next, we have Margaret Chaston's Director of Operations of Sinfonia. After completing a degree in political science and 2 music degrees, Margaret enjoyed a career as an orchestral French hornist, pianist, and university instructor of music history before transitioning into administration. In that capacity, she has held leadership roles with the Symphony New Brunswick, the RCM Community School, and the Toronto campus of the Pacific Language Institute, and now Sinfonia Toronto. Sinfonia Toronto was the recipient of one of our charitable givings earlier this year. Over to you, Margaret.
So thank you for inviting me. Sinfonia Toronto is a professional chamber orchestra which plays series in downtown and North York, has collaborated on projects with 10 different multicultural communities, and plays annually in Barrie and Sault Ste. Marie. The orchestra has also played in 10 other Ontario cities and toured in the US, Germany, Spain, South America, and China, always including music by Canadian composers in our tour concerts. And our marquee classic CD of music by Ontario composer John Burge won a Juno. Going virtual during the pandemic has actually allowed us to share our music more widely. We now have virtual patrons from Surrey to St. John in the Yukon and 23 US states. Going virtual also let us find a wonderful silver lining, our digital inclusion project, and that is where Rotary Toronto's support has made a great impact. We launched the project in January. One part of it is providing our concert links free for students in the Regent Park School of Music, Sistema Toronto, and University Settlement Music School, supplemented by online seminars a few days before and after each concert date, hosted by our musicians in diverse pairs like Tanya and Tony. Last month, our University Settlement contact wrote, "Thanks again for all your work throughout this difficult time to keep on facilitating opportunities for students that wouldn't have access to events of this kind otherwise. We would love to be considered for this again next school year." The other part of the project is providing free links for long-term care homes to play concerts for their residents. Our list of partner homes has grown to 27, most in Toronto, 9 in the GTA, and 2 in farther Ontario cities. Just 2 typical resident comments. "I have not been to a concert for a very long time and am so happy to have a concert brought to me in my own home." And "The slow songs were very peaceful and made me feel calm. Thank you." And from one Toronto City Homes activity coordinator, "Residents' feedback on this program was very positive. Not only did it improve their mood, it triggered memories of their past lives when they would attend events with their families and triggered nostalgic conversations with the group. All our verbal residents expressed great interest in seeing more performances." Our brief response form for activity coordinators asks about residents' moods while they listen and for at least 15 minutes afterwards. In all cases, cognitively well residents' moods improve while listening and remain better afterwards. And the moods of residents with dementia almost always improve while listening, and in some cases also remain better afterwards. Rotary Toronto's sponsorship helped us pay our musicians fees for 2 of this spring's programs and carry on this project. With no box office sales this season and 7 other presenter fees canceled or postponed, this was critical support. Through Sinfonia Toronto, Rotary Toronto has mitigated the pandemic isolation of students and seniors, enabled educational enrichment for disadvantaged students, and shared the joy of music with 2 underserved but very deserving communities. On behalf of our musicians, our board, and these communities, thank you, Rotary Toronto. Back to you, President Prince.
Thank you, Margaret. So today, I'll kick it off. As usually I would, or the president would invite a guest speaker. Today, I am your guest speaker. So once again, actually, thank you, Margaret, for sharing that. And I do want to comment on, this is one such amazing project that this club has done. And again, there are hundreds of projects that we do on a yearly basis. And it is really heartwarming to hear the impact of what is actually happening once we have supported them, once we have partnered with the projects, and what the end results are, and to hear directly from them. So I'll start off my talk by taking you back a couple of years. It was literally 2.5 years ago when Jeff Dobson, past President Jeff Dobson, and past President Pat Newman had surprised me in my office and asked that the club has sought after you to be the president for this particular year and to take on that responsibility. And my first question, of course, was, what type of a time commitment are we talking about? And little did I know, and of course, Jeff and Pat were very much calming me and saying, well, you have a huge support structure. And by the way, today you have seen some of that support structure. It really is amazing. Thank you to each and every one of you, whether it was the board, our tech team, Carol, Maureen, everyone is amazing in terms of helping and supporting with this. So, 2.5 years ago, I was thinking, okay, well, I've got a thriving business. How am I going to do this? How is this going to compute? So I started looking at it and saying, well, I've got 2.5 years. I'm going to start to delegate more, and we'll get our leaders working on stuff. Well, little did I know, and I think little did anyone know, that we were going to be hit by a pandemic, and things got turned upside down for a lot of us. Our businesses went through lots of challenges, and so did mine. And we came out of that, and now not only are we steaming ahead with the consulting side of things, we're busier than ever. We've got 3 other social enterprises that we're starting, and I keep wondering how in the world am I going to continue to do the presidency role? But what really, really helps me and really, really gets me going is a couple of things. One is the wonderful support that we have in this club and all of you as members. And second is the reason why I joined Rotary to begin with. So my story, and I'll take you back to a little bit of a personal story of why I joined Rotary. Some of you have heard this before. My brother, who was diagnosed with leukemia, and I was actually his bone marrow transplant provider years ago, passed away. That was a big hit to me. My dad, who was really a man of service, a man who was internationally a diplomat. He was also in intelligence, and his whole life, he was always about quest for peace. He was always fighting for peace. He was assassinated. That was another huge blow. And finally, my mom, who was a teacher, an English teacher, a school principal, and she, after my brother and dad had passed away, it was difficult. It was a difficult time for all of us, and she succumbed to a heart attack, and that was the third major blow to me. This was in 2010. I was broken. It was one of the Rotarians, one of our family friends, a very close family friend, whose office was actually next to mine, Uncle Sean. And thank you, Chan Chandaria, for being here today. And I see Auntie Niru's here as well. So thank you, Chand and Niru, for being here today. He asked me to come to the Rotary lunches every single Friday. When I used to go to office, his office was literally next to mine. He would say, listen, I'm going to pick you up. Why don't you come over and we'll have lunch? I had no concept of Rotary at that particular time. And I did. And for the first few meetings, it was just taking me away from things. But then I realized that, this life of service, this life of giving back to the community brought purpose. So you see, Rotary healed me. Rotary gave me that purpose. And I started looking back at what my life of my brother, my dad, and my mom were all about. And I started forming some journeys. My brother's life, and through that, I started forming a journey called Empower, Engage and Empower to Achieve. With my mom, we started looking at ever learning and ever growing. As she was an English teacher and always used to tell us, even when we go on these school trips, that, hey, make sure you're writing an essay. Make sure you're noticing, everything that around you, and you're writing something about it. My dad, who was a man of service and was recognized by the government of India and the Prime Minister for his service, and his journey was about quest for peace. So you see, the three journeys that were very dear and close to me, Rotary gave me a platform to really and truly connect them to actual projects and bring them to life. So that was my connection. And that made it stronger for me to bond with Rotary and really go out there and deliver something. Then I started thinking about, there's over 1.2 million Rotarians in the world. That's just my reason of joining. I started asking people about their reasons of joining, and I found out that different people have different stories. We're a club, we're an organization filled with diversity. Rotary Toronto has some of the finest leaders, some of the finest business leaders in Toronto, and every single one of them, while we're diverse and while we have unique and different ideas, we're bonded by one concept, and that is to give back. That is really to give back. Every one of us might have their own angle and might have their own aspect or reason of giving back, but we all give back. I've seen that in spades. So thank you for doing that. This year, as we come out of COVID and as we start to unite, I have actually seen even more Rotarians in our club come together. Typically, our club used to have about 50% of members that are fully engaged in service projects, in committees. This year, we had over 82% of members that were engaged in service projects, that were engaged in their committees and what have you. So thank you for doing that, because the need has never been greater, and you have truly stepped up in delivering on that need. So thank you for doing that. And remember that reason, because it's those two reasons that get me up every day and say, yes, we need to serve and we need to continue to serve and figure out how we're going to do this. Someone once told me, give a busy person something to do and they will get it done. And I see that in spades in every single Rotarian in our club. We're all very busy, but yet we're efficient, effective, and we get things done. Speaking of getting things done, you've heard about the racism series that our club did earlier, a few months earlier. But what was interesting was, it wasn't just a series of bringing together, leaders from all across the walks of life. It wasn't just, bringing together politicians, leaders, business leaders, thought leaders, and putting them on a platform for these series, but it was also about empowering people. And that series, and this is what I really love about Rotary and our Rotarians, empowered many other projects. One such project was revisiting our vision, mission, and values. So our both incoming board and our outgoing board has actually approved a new vision, mission, and values. And I do want to thank Mark Stanowski and Peter Stevenson, who led this project, worked with our executive, worked with our boards to get a new vision, mission, and values. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Let's see if I can do this, hopefully. There we go. And you'll notice that's our club's website. So thanks to Carol, the vision, mission, and core values are already up on the website. I'll briefly talk about these. Our Vision 2023 is be the organization of choice to fulfill one's philanthropic and fellowship goals by achieving, along with our partners, a community impact of at least $2 million. Our club and our foundation together has given over $1 million in grants just this past year. I think our impact is much higher. In a couple of years, we want to shoot for that. And what you really want to zoom in on is it talks about those reasons. It talks about let's fulfill the reasons that why we have joined Rotary, to fulfill those philanthropic and fellowship goals. Let's make that happen. And I think we are. Our mission is to provide opportunities for people and our partners to improve our communities through the Rotary platform. Our core values, and you'll see we made changes to ensure that they were reflective of the racism series and included diversity, equity, and inclusion as one of our core values. And I'll read that out. We embrace a diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment free of racism and oppression, where all members feel respected and valued, regardless of their gender, sexual identity, age, race, ethnicity, religion, or life limitations. We not only have put these statements in our core values, we're also embodying them. When we went through our leadership training, we ensured, with the help of some brilliant trainers like Susan Hunter, that we had diversity, equity, and inclusion training. Susan Hunter, in fact, our chair of our RNA committee in the foundation, recently brought up a particular article, a study about how under-granted some of the charities and organizations are that are led by minority groups. And perhaps that can be an area that our club and our foundation can look at. These are all aspects that have been taken from both the racism series and ideas that have now been planted, and we're moving forward into action. When we looked at philanthropy, we added the word environment, donating our time, expertise, or money for human and environment welfare and advancement locally and worldwide. We wanted to make sure environment, not just people, is part and parcel of our core values. The other ones, as you know, integrity, including our Rotary four-way test. You're going to hear more about the Rotary four-way test in a moment. Leadership and friendships, which I've already spoken about. So that's our vision, mission, and core values. That's great. Well, how do we achieve them? How do we go out there and make this happen? That's where our transition comes into play. For the last 3 years, our transition team, our club members, they have been working so hard and getting a revised structure put into place. Why? The revised structure is to make things more efficient and effective, only so that it can empower us, it can engage us to make a bigger impact in the community. I believe in the last 109, 110 years of the history of this club, this is probably the first time we've gone through this major transition. So thank you to every single one of you. Our core transition team of 10, who ended up meeting weekly without fail for a couple of years, for sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours every week, were added and made sure that the transition was done properly, made sure that it was inclusive, made sure that every single comment, every single aspect was looked into before we came up with this new structure. So let's talk about this new structure. What is the new structure doing? Today, you're seeing glimpses of that in some of the elements in our Rotary meeting, and some collaboration and new ways of doing things. Well, let's talk about some of the other aspects of it as well. Our program committee, as an example, already have reviewed the overall aspect with the modernization of the program, but also our speakers team in the program committee has done a stellar job. I'm so excited to welcome some of the leading personalities within Toronto. Mayor John Tory will be here. Our fire chief will be here. The ambassador of Israel will be here. Peter Mansbridge, Canadian icon, will be here. Also, they've looked at some really innovative presentations. Although I hear I should be scared or afraid, I understand the program committee is looking to get the heads of the executive, including mine, Jayson, and Annie Sandra's, with a falconry show. And I believe we're supposed to head out somewhere for that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. And of course, we've got the president's cocktails coming up. Our district governor kicking that off next Wednesday itself. Our marketing and communications team, they have been stellar in looking at our rebrand. Rotary historically has been shy when it comes to, getting the word out. And perhaps that's why, John Bogin, we didn't publicize perhaps that much what we had done in Liverpool. And thank you so much for coming back to us and sharing that wonderful story. Well, now we've got a marketing and communications committee that is taking things completely on the upside. And what they're doing is they have us on social media. They have us in front of major leaders within Toronto. They have us in front of major communities within Toronto with targeted marketing, with a marketing plan, and lots of different initiatives that they're launching. Thank you for doing that, the marketing committee. Our member engagement committee, they have been stellar. Since they started with the new process and the new transition, our numbers are starting to go up. You saw today, our new members that have joined in are taking on the helm, are taking on the leadership helm right away. And thank you for doing that. We're more engaged than ever. Our charitable asks committees and our community outreach committees, charitable ask is looking at reviewing all kinds of projects that come in and looking at where should we be spending our Rotary grants. That is amazing. Our community outreach is looking at bringing us together and understanding what is it that we need to deliver as large projects. We already do a wonderful scholarship project where we cover the full scholarship of deserving students with need of financial aid for their university. We've been running that for quite a few years. And Community Outreach Committee is also looking at coming up with some major projects, which involves both commitment of time and funds. Each one of those projects will be over $10,000. So thank you, Community Outreach, for going out there and doing that. Our events committee, not only are they looking at fellowship events, they're looking at fundraising, they're looking at philanthropic events. And of course, they need your help. I will talk about this right at the end of the meeting, how everyone can get involved, including some of our guests can get involved in sharing of ideas with our club and how we can share ideas with your club as well. Our foundation has been extremely busy over the course of COVID and continues to be. Our research and appeals committee has gone out there and reached out to so many different wonderful organizations and has done proper due diligence where we've supported so many wonderful organizations and charities. As I said, just in this year, we gave over $1 million in grants. Our foundation, even though we went through ups and downs in our financial hurdles in terms of the market, just a tiny bit, but they not only recovered, they have really done much, much, much better than expected. We are at a $23 million, I believe, foundation at this particular point. That is amazing. Thank you for our investment committee to carry on that stewardship for us. So you see, what we're doing here with the new structure is we want to go out there and we want to empower every single Rotarian, whether you're a Rotarian or whether you're a guest. We want to come up and say, if you have an idea, let's work on that idea. Let's figure out if it's the right idea for Rotary, and let's make that idea happen. Our structure is about taking those reasons for joining Rotary, taking those ideas, creating that passion, creating that momentum, creating that empowerment, and moving us forward. One such idea was our Rotary Minute video. Our new members team got on it. And the concept of the Rotary Minute video, very simple. It's looking at all the different things that Rotary does, but can we, in just under a minute or so, share on a periodic basis these videos out to the world, create information, create an understanding of what Rotary does. Well, our new members team got on it right away with the help of both the marketing and communications team committees, as well as the program committee, led by Christina McMillan and Natalie Soroka. Christina, we're glad she's leading it because she's also a leading litigation lawyer in Toronto. And that ensured that all the T's were crossed and I's were dotted as the videos are being made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a draft video for you that they've prepared, and pretty soon they're going to be launching this on a periodic basis. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Neil Hetherington, and I have the awesome privilege of being the CEO of the Daily Bread Foodbank. We are now seeing about 123,000 clients every single month. The simple reality is it has more than doubled since we began the pandemic. Here's what you can do about it. You can volunteer, you can donate, or third, you can advocate. When you advocate for change, you are advocating for decent social policies that will result in more people being in decent, affordable housing, that will have pathways to employment, and that will have the income security that they need to make sure that nobody needs to stand in a line for a food bank.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to every Rotarian who is participating in this project and making our community even better.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and share. And remember to follow Rotary Club of Toronto for more information on people making a difference in the community and how you can get involved.
You see, this particular video is about another charity, another organization, a wonderful organization we've partnered with for years and years and years. Another great example. And the videos are not just going to be about the causes that we have supported, but they're also going to be about the Rotarians and the lives of the Rotarians, and profiling different individuals, different aspects, different conversations that Rotary brings together. Rotary is a great connector. Thank you to the new members team for putting this together. So we've talked about our various different committees. We've talked about our new structures. We've talked about our empowerment. But let's now talk about a little bit of fun. So another idea that came about as we move forward with the new structure was in collaboration with our Rotary Club of Darslam, Oyster Bay, Tanzania. They did a wonderful, wonderful rendition of our four-way test. And I'll read out the four-way test to you. The four-way test, and remember this as once we play the song lyrics. And I think it's so important that the four-way test is not just meant for Rotarians, but it can be utilized by everyone. I utilize it in my personal life and professional life, and I know our fellow Rotarians do that as well. But imagine if we were able to share this in a wonderful way, in a way where people wanted to participate in this particular aspect. So the four-way test is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And with that, I'd like to play the beautiful song.
Of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
In the beginning of creation, there was no you, but helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another.
Wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. So I hope you are listening to that song carefully, because pretty soon we're going to be asking you guys to dance to the tunes. So the concept, very simple. We want to look at creating a four-way test challenge. Let's spread this word. Let's go out there and let other clubs, Rotarians know about this with a dance-off challenge. We'll practice it today, but not to worry. Today is not the official aspect of it. I understand the two clubs are looking at highlighting a few members, perhaps 10 each, putting together a choreographer, putting together a production, and then once it's ready in a couple of months, we'll take it out to the districts and get other clubs involved. So with that, I want to pass it on to President Aisha Sykes for a few words.
Thank you, President Prince. Good evening from Darslam, fellow Rotarians, or good afternoon for those who are in other parts of the world. So let me just give you a little brief history about the Rotary Club of Darslam, Oyster Bay. We were officially chartered in 2009, and we are currently at 87 members. We have a target that we want to reach of 100 members. We know that you've already reached and surpassed that great number. So that's kind of what we're aiming towards. And to tell you a little bit about the four-way test song that was done in July of 2020. It was 3 months or so into the world coming to realize that we're in the middle of a pandemic. Countries were locking down, but in Tanzania, we never really went into full lockdown. It was lockdown that was self-imposed. And our president, our now immediate past president, Marianne Mugo, as well as other members, came up with this idea to energize, inspire, rejuvenate us, and just kind of give us some motivation for what we didn't know was going to be many, many months ahead. And so together with a local producer, they went into the studio, came up with some words, and recorded that wonderful song. The idea was that we would share our values as Rotary, as Rotarians, and what we do with the producer and the composer, and they would come up with this song. Little did we know how much traction this song would gain. And when I looked online today, we were at 7,800 views. I don't think we were expecting that many. And so we're excited to see who else other than the Rotary Club of Toronto. We've also been contacted by other clubs as well. So we're excited to see how far we can go with this. How many people can we get energized and inspired, particularly as some of the world comes out of COVID, lockdowns and so on, so that people are living these values and these principles that we as Rotarians believe in. So we look forward to a wonderful collaboration with the Rotary Club of Toronto and other clubs as well to see what it is that we can do to get people motivated. Thank you.
Wow, Aisha, what an amazing club you have, and such talented people. I mean, I'm not sure we could, anyway, this is truly going to be a challenge. But we members of the Rotary Club of Toronto, we're going to never shy away from a challenge. So what we're going to see in a minute is a video on how to do this dance. So I want everyone to get ready. You can stay in your chair because we made sure that how the steps to do this you could do in your chair. So first of all, I want to thank Diana. Diana is the one who put together the 3 steps for us. And she is a lucky or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. She lives with Jeffrey, our member Jeffrey Johnson, day in and day out. So now what we're going to do is I want you to watch her arms when we see the next 3 steps, because that's what I'm going to ask each of you to do in both clubs. So get ready. Prince.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, action.
Of the things we think, say, or do. Is it
2. Okay, everyone. Now it's going to be your turn. For all the people on this, both clubs and all around the world, this is what we're going to do. We're going to dance using those steps. I want to see everybody up and doing it. Okay, Prince. Here we go, guys.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, action.
Of the things we think, say, or do.
Okay, here we go. That was good. Wow, that was fantastic, everybody. I'm not sure whether we videotaped that. We might have to wait for a little more training, but that was fabulous. Everybody, thank yourself. Thank you, everyone. So now here comes the challenge, the 4-way challenge. I need 10 people from our club who are going to be taught by a professional choreographer. A dance teacher is going to teach us over the coming weeks and months how to start the challenge. So email Michelle Guy or phone me. You need 10 people and you're going to be great. Over to you, Prince.
So thank you, Michelle, and thank you to the Rotary Club of Darslam, Oyster Bay, for bringing this wonderful energy to us and to really the world. We look forward to working with you on this particular challenge. So now, as I mentioned to you, that we'll talk a little bit about how we can share these ideas. We've talked about various different examples only of various different causes that we have supported, whether it was the food bank in today what you saw, whether it was the musical arts, or with John's beautiful story of clothing drives done years and years ago. But we support youth and children, Indigenous, seniors, environment, all kinds of causes today. And that is the amazing thing about Rotary. So what if you have a cause? What if you have an idea? And what if you have an idea about a particular event or something fun to do, or whether it's fellowship or philanthropic or sweat equity, and you want to roll up your hands and get out there, or perhaps it's an international sweat equity project. Where do you submit those ideas? I will quickly show this to you. More so, I know our club members will know this, but more so for our other fellow clubs, as well as our guests that have joined in. If you go to our site, which is rotarytoronto.com, you will see something there called Take Action and Join Now. You can click on Tools, and that will take you to one of our forms called Collecting New Ideas. So we will give you a little bit of an action to do this weekend. If you can think of an idea where Rotary can get involved, if you can think of an idea where Rotary can really help and get engaged, put that in. If you can think of an event that Rotary can do, whether it's a fellowship event, a philanthropic event, a fundraising event, put that in. If you're interested in helping and sharing that or championing that, put that in. If you know other people that will be ready to champion and put that in. This form is collected, it's looked at by our advisors, and the information in there will be shared, of course, to some of our Rotary clubs that have joined us today as well, as long as you fill in the form and as long as we have your contact information. So a little bit of homework for you to do there. But beyond that, what I'd love to do is say thank you to every one of you for joining us today. Next week, we do not have a regular Friday meeting. Well, we do have a Wednesday evening President's Cocktail, and our guest speaker will be District Governor Ron Dick. And thank you, Ron, for joining us today as well. The following week, we're back on July 23rd with guest speaker and canoeist Richard White. So get ready for that summer. So folks, continue to be safe. Remember the reason why you joined Rotary. Let's empower each other. Have a wonderful weekend. This meeting is adjourned.